Back in 2010, Android was footing in the market. At the time, files managers were terrible, but one app came with a great idea that you could manage your files in your phone. That was EA's Files Explorer. This app helped to organize, compress, move your files from your phone. That became everybody's favorite app until EA's Files Explorer do something terrible to the users. For years, installing EA's File Explorer was the very first thing you did when you bought a new phone. It was a masterpiece of utility. But behind the scenes, corporate greed was turning everyone's favorite app into a massive security threat. This is the story of how a legendary piece of software destroyed its own legacy, betrayed a massive community, and eventually forced Google to step in. It all started in 2010, where buying an Android phone felt like buying a pocket-sized computer. It promised absolute freedom, but as you know, there was a big problem. Google gave you this storage space, but no native ways to look inside it. For example, if you want to find a downloaded PDF, extract a zip file, or move an MP3 to your ringtone folder, good luck with that. You usually need to plug your phone directly into a computer, just organize your own data. It was incredibly boring. EA's File Explorer wasn't just a file manager. It was a revolutionary app that let you organize your internal storage as you wish. Let me tell you something, this app didn't use ads, subscriptions, or any that you imagine that you will charge you today. I forgot to mention the app was recommended by tech channels. They said that this app is a must need in your device. The app was so good that won trust of the people and was downloaded by 500 millions of users in few time. And honestly, what the app offers was ahead of the time, but that changed in 2015. Do you remember when I mentioned that the app was free of ads? Well, that didn't last. They started bombarding users with aggressive notifications. I'm talking about persistent pop-ups yelling at you to clean junk files or boost your phone. Naturally, people were getting extremely annoyed by these aggressive tactics, and they start reviewing the app with 1 star. The Android community was disappointed because of the blood war, and if you see those comments, they were very, very mad. But let me tell you something, then in 2016 it comes something very worse. The app literally hijacked your phone. That meant they had total control. They locked your screen, plastered it with ads, stole your battery life, and siphoned your data. That was scary, but what surfaced later was even more terrifying. Intelligence agency began to suspect that this massive trove of stolen data was being sent directly to the Chinese government. Yes, you heard me.
China.
This was completely unbelievable. So the question is, how exactly is this app tied to China? Well, EA's File Explorer was managed by a Chinese company called Do Global, a massive spin-off from the tech giant Baidu, and then just create EA's File Explorer. They were the architects behind the infamous Do line of apps. I'm going to put a few of them on screen right now and guarantee you remember using them, or at least seeing them at the top of the Play Store charts. But later, they decide to fix that issue. They tried to remove the charging boost and those things on your phone, but it was too late. The damage was done. And even the users said it before. These weren't small apps. They had hundreds of millions of downloads combined. But Do Global wasn't just building handy phones tools. They were responsible for one of the most massive coordinated digital frauds in Android history. Here is how that scam actually worked. They had a network over 100 different apps, and many of them were secretly packed with malicious code. Even when you had the apps completely closed, they were running in the background, simulating fake clicks on invincible ads. They were essentially using your phone as a zombie device to drain your battery and steal millions of dollars in ads revenue. To make matters worse, Do Global knew this was a massive violation. To keep the scam going and hide their tracks, they used fake developers' names and shell accounts to discuss who actually owned the apps, but they couldn't hide forever. In April 2019, BuzzFeed News dropped a massive bombshell investigation. Cybersecurity researchers had caught Do Global red-handed. They exposed the hidden codes, the fake ad clicks, and the web of shells companies Do Global was using to hide their tracks from Google. When Google saw the report, they didn't issue a warning. They didn't ask for an apology. They brought the hammer down hard. Overnight, Google permanently banned Do Global and all of its associate developers' accounts. They wiped dozens of their apps from the Play Store in one sweep. And just like that, ES Explorer, an app with over 500,000 downloads, was completely erased from the platform. So yeah, you see that? Today, ES File Explorer is nothing more than a ghost. It stands as the ultimate cautionary tale in the tech world. They had everything. They built the perfect utility app that solved a massive problem for early Android users. They had the blind trust of over 500 million people. But instead of protecting that community, they got greedy. They traded a legendary legacy for a quick, fraudulent payout, and it cost them their entire empire. Well, that will be all for today. If you like the video, well, hit the like button, and if you want to see more videos, subscribe and activate that notification to see more. And if you have another topic that you are interested to talk, you can put it down in the comments, and that will be all I can say. So bye bye.